What? So, like, the Final Fantasy set released, and you just expect me to make Chocobo noises at you? Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, here for another Legacy video, and I am recording this just moments after the Final Fantasy set finally hit Magic Online. And today, Edison has asked me to brew around Traveling Chocobo. So you can look at the top card of your library, you can play lands and cast bird spells from the top of your library. But the important ability is the last one. If a land or bird you control entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So our goal today is to double the doubling. And we are going to be playing with Tifa as well. Whenever a land you control enters, double Tifa's power until the end of turn. So if we have Traveling Chocobo, and we start doubling things that already are doubled, like Tifa and Scythecat Cub's abilities, we can go wild very quickly in terms of power. I was sent an initial deck list by someone, and apologies, I didn't grab your name before I started recording, but thank you. And their initial draft that they proposed to me was a Lotus Petal Chrome Mox build to maximize the chances that you could play Tifa on turn 1 or Scythecat Cub on turn 1, and then potentially go Traveling Chocobo on turn 2. And if it's a Chrome Mox, you could potentially landfall as well and go wild quickly. But in doing some sample games, just kind of goldfishing, that version had something crazy like 36 mana sources in the deck, and that just felt like too much. It felt like I was flooding out after the first couple of turns, although admittedly the first couple of turns were pretty damn good. So we're going to try to mid-range a little harder today with a Bant build. We are going to be very light on both white and blue. This is going to be very close to a monocolored deck. We want Nadu for some endgame nonsense. We want something that can get opposing creatures out of the way, and swords is just the best thing to do that. And then we're going to have like a white creature to round things out to make sure that we can keep the landfall coming when we reach the end game. This is very much this set has been live for 15 minutes sort of build, and we'll see how it plays out today. It is going to be very aggressive in terms of ramping. We're not going to be the best versus combo. We are not blue heavy enough to be playing things like Force of Will. So we will rely on our sort of normal cards that we would be expecting out of a green-white deck, although I've not been overly impressed by Deafening Silence as a whole recently. I'm not sure if I should be doing Pick Your Poison or Force of Vigor. This is sort of interesting right now as a way to address Urza's Saga specifically at a very efficient cost now that the Blood Moon rules are in effect. So that's where my head is at with that, but it is possible that over the course of this league I will decide that I wish I had Force of Vigor instead for the raw value that it offers. So, if you like what you see today and you need some Final Fantasy cards, promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order on whatever you order, even a tabernacle. And I say that because someone actually got a tabernacle recently using my promo code and saved a ton of money. And if they got that shipped to them, they got free shipping too. Or maybe they're just going to pick it up on site at Vegas because that's super convenient. With that being said, let's Chocobo. Okay, so we've got turn 1 Mana Dork, turn 2 Chocobo. We've got an Ignoble Hierarch on the other side of the battlefield. And then turn 3... do I want to remove this? Maybe I want to remove that. It means that I'm not being optimally mana efficient. But if I don't cast this Swords now, I don't really know when I cast it, to be honest. Alright, got an Elvish Reclaimer now. I'm playing you this turn? You're technically removable, but probably not. I think I am just going to make this land drop. We'll see what my opponent's got going on. Do they have a 2020 Merit Lage finish is going to be a real question here. And notably, these don't fly. Just throwing that out there, despite the fact that they are birds. Okay. Losing the Hierarch. which potentially just means that my turn is going to look a little different than what I thought. There's a Dryad Arbor from my opponent. So many fetch lands. So I think this now becomes get Scythecat Cub. And next turn I play Traveling Chocobo and go wild. And I think my opponent has enough bodies that the trample of Scythecat Cub is appealing here. We are in range of just eating a natural order. We've got a forest. A green sun for 1, or a Sylvan Safekeeper. Now my opponent's stuff is protected. Oh shit. Yes. I am into that. So I'm going to go land drop, target Scythecat Cub, do the Nadu ability, do this, target Scythecat Cub, do the Scythecat Cub thing. I think we are going to maximize value here and do Nadu on this one. Oh, I guess... Oh, this is a little weird. So that was the second time that ability resolved, so it doubled the counters. This had never resolved because of Nadu. It doesn't really matter what I do with that. So now I will fetch... I guess I had a better way to stack these triggers, huh? Get a land drop. Do this for the second time on Nadu. Get a Traveling Chocobo. It's kind of a shame I have the Dryad Arbor in hand, because that would be pretty good to get here. I think I am going to just go ahead and pick up my own protection and pass the turn here. So thinking about this in retrospect, I should have done this in a way where the... Is the wording second time it resolves? Yeah, so I like stack, first time it resolves, second time it resolves. This is a problem. And there's the Dark Depths naturally. My opponent has Sylvan Safekeeper for swords. So, not great for me. I wonder if I can just kill my opponent by attacking for enough. Okay. So, yeah. Chocobo. Land drop. Shit ton of triggers. I think my goal is to just make a monster and attack through. So, it's gonna get big. There's a swords. So now, I guess I would like to see if I draw another swords. So let's fetch. Get a land. I guess now, I'm not doubling these anymore. I guess now I spread these out. Let's do 2 of these on Scythecat Cub, and then that's the Nadu trigger. We'll do 2 of these on the Traveling Chocobo. Now we'll do 2 of these on Sylvan Safekeeper, and 2 of these on Nadu. And then everything else from here we can just stack up on the original Scythecat Cub until we get another creature. This is bananas. I get a few more landfall triggers, a little bit down the stack. Honestly, let's do this. I might just damn well kill by attacking through a Merit Lage with Traveling Chocobo. I can also just Swords to Plowshare as a creature of mine for a very large amount of life. Do I have a Tundra in this deck? So I have 4 Savannas in play. So that's my white mana. So I think I want to go ahead and fetch once. I can potentially get to 7 total mana. That might be a little tricky. Wait, is this fetch land live? Or does this just fetch 4x Savannah? No, there's Trops. Oh, I also just have a line to win. I can Green Sun for a new Scythecat Cub and just double all of the counters that are already on this creature. To hell with actually answering it. So now we will Green Sun for a new Scythecat Cub. Then fetch. Get a drop. Yeah, so we'll do that. 52, 52. That feels like enough. 20, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. 52 will do fine. I'm done. We could keep going harder with this with Sylvan Safekeeper, but yeah, so that Chocobo though. So that was cool. And we'll kind of learn how to optimize playing this over the course of the league. This might be all I want. I could play Endurance. Tifa has Trample too. Gonna trim one random card here and call that good. Alright, our opening hand is reasonable. I can't interact with my opponent. Hopefully I don't need to interact if they just die. Got a Wooded Foothills from my opponent into presumably either a Mana Dork or Elvish Reclaimer. It is Once Upon a Time, or a Hierarch, which my opponent plays immediately. Hello. I have the possibility of generating a very large amount of power very quickly. Opponent's got their next land drop, and we've got a White of the Reliquary to potentially tutor for lands. Scythecat Cub tramples. I think that is going to be... Well, Tifa also tramples. Do I just want a Tifa? I lose value on the counters immediately if I do that. So let's Scythecat Cub. I think I am saving my fetch land for next turn, though. I'll just play Lush Portico here. Make Scythecat Cub bigger. Next turn I can play Traveling Chocobo and to drop that. Do multiple landfall triggers, or play Bristly Bill. I'm gonna get rid of this because I might want to find a Swords or a Path to Exile. Not 100% sure about that one though. We are obviously in Brew territory. Got the fetch. Would just be a good time to pick up a Dryad Arbor. Contributes to Cradle, is a creature you can sacrifice for white. And I'm tapped out here. It is just a Surveil land though. No to Keen-Eyed Curator. That is a fine card in a mid-range mirror, but my deck might be closer to a combo deck. This is double Exalted triggers here. This is a 5/5 crashing in. I will be taking that hit. We've got a Green Sun. Yeah, that's expected. Oh, shit. Surely it cannot be wrong to do that, given how it went last time. Alright. You're just gonna phase out my Scythecat Cub? Yes. So that buys you some time. Do I just play a fetch land and start doing it on their turn? Probably. Oh wait, I'm gonna phase out until beginning of my upkeep, not beginning of their upkeep. It was incorrect to play the fetch land. I should have waited on that. I'll take that hit. This does queue up an extra land drop for the following turn, though, so it is possible that that is still just correct. That's fine. I don't really actually literally draw cards. I'll take a ping. I'm at 9. Opponent might just try to phase out some of my bullshit here. Okay, that is what's going to happen. So this is targeting my Nadu. So first ability happens. Land drop. Target Scythecat Cub. Nadu ability. Swords is cool. Now we're going to fetch. Grab a land. Second time on Scythecat Cub. Nadu trigger for Scythecat Cub. Get a new land drop. I can extract some cards out of Nadu if I want, or I can just go for counters here immediately. I think I am going to extract cards out of Nadu. There's a Tifa. So I can fetch yet again. Keep grabbing lands. I might be able to present lethal this turn via Scythecat Cub, but I think I am just going to take an extra card here. I hit another land. We'll take an extra card here. Okay, I found a new Nadu. So now I am comfortable just stopping here and taking my draw. So 3 mana for Nadu, 3 mana for Traveling Chocobo, and then I try to kill my opponent. Green, blue. You don't really need to attack, I don't think. There's Nadu. I don't even need to legend roll yet. So green and 2. Now I will play Tropical Island. I now can target Scythecat Cub again. This is a new Nadu. And so I'm going to get multiple sets of triggers here. Get a new land drop. And I think I am going for lethal at this point. I can also get this going. Batch. Pick up a land. This is another 4 power by itself. No, I could just draw some cards. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I still have Bristly Bills that can be activated for cards. All right, there's a Dryad Arbor. Now, let's go back to doing this now that I'm going to get a bunch more cards. Opponent has said, I hate Nadu so hard, but nice deck. 100% agreed. Nadu is bullshit. There is a new Scythecat Cub, and the stack is empty. I have a 13/13. That's not lethal. I can Noble Hierarch for 1 extra damage. I think it just takes me another turn to kill my opponent. I've used the Dryad Arbor, so Green Sun is not live. Okay. Scythecat Cub, get in there. Opponent takes the hit, goes to 5. Then I'm going to attempt to take out Sylvan Safekeeper. My opponent will sack a land to keep it around. And we're good. We have a bonus Bowmasters at end of turn. Targeting Dryad Arbor, doing the thing. I can discard a Tifa. Another Bowmaster, putting me to 5. Sending in a bunch of creatures. We will block a bunch of them. I'm going to end up taking 2-ish damage here. See if my opponent has any cool tricks. Nope, it is a concession. That was a little tight as far as life totals go. But that was death for my opponents both times around turn 5, which is very impressive for a brew. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. I imagine that when my landfall deck does not have 2 lands in hand, the hand is not a keep. Like, I can play land into Hierarch into 2-drop, but without anything to follow that up, I think this just clunks itself to death. Whereas this looks pretty darn reasonable. We'll put the Dryad Arbor back in deck and just fetch it out on turn 1. This is why the Dryad Arbor is here, even though it is not a particularly impressive card in the same way that it might be in my opponent's deck from the last round, where it contributes to count for Gaia's Cradle and is also sacrifice fodder. Alrighty. I'm already going to be wastelandable, so this is fine. I would like to find another land, because I will go Scythecat Cub and fetch, and then I would like to have something cool to do afterwards as well. I mean, that's not a land for landfall, but that's really not that bad. Now it's much harder for Ocelot Pride to get out of line. Oh, shit! Blue! Alright. Guess I will get my own blue mana and play something that gets in the way of Ocelot Pride. Now my opponent needs a removal spell here. Wasteland's annoying. Lose Savannah. I had thought about getting another white source, but I wanted to hedge towards being able to catch Nadu. Cast Nadu, rather. Let's try to hit a land drop off the top here. Burb. I don't want to draw Tifa. I will shuffle that away. We have gotten the spicy from opponent in chat. You don't even know, Rody. You don't know what this deck is capable of yet. It did crimes in round 1. Hopefully it will do crimes here. Aww. Double Surveil works, right? Yeah. Oh shit, Nadu? Yeah, we're fine with uncounterable Nadu. Top. This means that Ocelot Pride gets a hit in, but I am going to clog up the board really, really well. So I'm not actually sweating that. Blue, green, and 1. And we're just going to hold both of these back. And then hopefully Bristly Bill leads into a land. My opponent is having some trouble here. Probably just play Knight of the Reliquary this turn. It's huge. Yeah, it's just huge. I am fine casting this into a Daze. I am fine attacking in 4/4 in the air while my opponent flounders. I don't care if they hit me and get a cat if Knight gets removed. But I was about to do harder crimes. We are very consistently winning games around turn 5, and that's not the fastest, but it's probably fast enough. Okay, so my opponent is at least blue-white energy. They could be Jeskai. The blue is probably for counter spells and things like Mockingbird that can just be additional Guide of Souls and Ocelot Prides. I don't really know that I want to choke my opponent. They led on basic planes naturally, and they're probably not going to be that blue heavy. We did see cantrips. I think I can just outvalue them. I think that means either not sideboarding or just sideboarding Path over like 1 Tifa or something. I don't know, the trample matters here. My opponent can make a shit ton of cats. Get rid of Reclaimer. Reclaimer's pretty expendable. That's just a green sun silver bullet for when I have an awkward amount of mana and need something to get landfall going. This is 2 starting mana, but again does not have additional land drops. I think I'm just going to mulligan this for stability. This I like better. So now it's just a question of like how safe do I want to play? Like I could get a little greedy and throw back a land here and try to keep all 3 of these cards. It might actually be correct to just throw back the Traveling Chocobo, and then like this can become Nadu to support this instead. I don't know without more games. I'm going to try being greedy and keeping 2 lands. 2 is reasonable. All right. I have hit an extra mana dork, which I absolutely don't mind in case my opponent wants to swords these. And that means that I can cub into Hierarch and still have pretty stable mana, unless something like Goblin Bombardment gets online, in which case... Ooh. This is a red-based fetch land, so there could actually be red in my opponent's list, or this could just be a random white-based fetch land that is not Flooded Strand. Okay, there is the red. We've got Prismatic Ending taking out a mana dork, and now I just decide how crazy I get. I think I'm going to go for mana stability here. I'm risking Savannah, though. So I think I'm going to go Hierarch into Dryad Arbor. And then through a Wasteland or removal spell, I can still potentially keep playing Magic. 3 mana. It is stock up. We are stock up energy. Okay, got it. All right, I did hit a land drop. I think I am starting here, seeing if this gets forced. Does not. Bird this turn? Bird next turn. I think bird next turn. Well, let's throw this down. And potentially get punished by Daze for not playing my land drop first, because I don't need to double this power immediately. I care about the Tifa less. I think I'm going to put this counter on Tifa. And then next turn, hopefully, I play Traveling Chocobo, hit a land within my top 2 cards, and go fucking nuts. That would be cool. It would be on track for our turn 5 wins. I can get Wastelanded off some stuff here. My opponent has a bunch of cards in hand. I should expect interaction of some kind. That's a respectable blocker. Halfling is not what I wanted. Here comes the Chocobo. There's a Scythecat Cub on top, unfortunately. Which is not a bird. Am I fine giving them a Planeswalker? So I can attack with a 3/4 Trampler. They replace that cat. I think I'm going for a large amount of damage in one go. 3 mana. Ooh. That is going to have a big impact on the game one way or another. Oh. I need to block and kill that, I think. Let's get in shot here. The Chocobo is going down. Yeah. Actually, I don't want to lose Scythecat Cub. I will just lose Dryad Arbor here. Or Delighted Halfling. If this card is swords and this gets swords and this lives, it's a disaster. What if I do this? Then my opponent has one creature for Ajani, and Ajani's ability has to finish off this. Horse versus swords. But then I keep both of my good bodies. I am into that degree of risk, I think. Fuck. It was the swords. I got cute and got punished for it. I could have done the triple block that avoids that. Now, a 2-mana thing kills Scythecat Cub. And I know a Scythecat Cub is coming. I forgot about the top card of my library. My play was just wrong. I should have just triple blocked. I will send at Ajani. I'm going to kill the cat and lower the loyalty of this. But that's still not great for me. Yep. I just messed up. Alright. Do I even play this turn? It just dies to the 0 ability of my opponent's card. I'm not sure that I do. And here we see the landfall deck just running out of lands. Like, if I just have a land here and Tifa gets to do Tifa things, I'm in such good shape. I think I now die. Just 0 ability here kills Tifa, then my opponent can broadside throw here. Mockingbird too. Oh shit, it's just a Murktide Regent. I am comfortable conceding here. So I think I did my blocks wrong on the previous turn, but I think this probably ends up beating me regardless. And now that I know that Murktide, do I care about endurance? Not sure that I actually do. I don't think I'm gonna change anything here. I could choke, though. Should have thought about that a touch more. I don't know how I end up feeling about it, though. Like, it's very good when I have the turn 1 mana dork. Then other than that, it feels awkward. Got Flooded Strand and Pass for my opponent. I am just going to start looking for more land. That's land. I believe that I am going to play my threats from least valuable to most valuable here. And we've got the fetch from my opponent into a Surveil land. Keeping the card. And we've got Guide of Souls. The Wasteland's actually very, very good here, because it means I can't play Scythecat Cub and then get maximum value immediately. Tifa still hits respectably hard here. Get a new Savannah, double her power again. This is still attacking for 4, which is perfectly fine. 15. As much as I would like to hold up removal here, I think I just need to be mana efficient. Another Wasteland on this Savannah would be pretty disastrous. But land drops at this point are insane for multiple different reasons. Alright, cool. Not Wasteland at the very least. White probably is Prisma. Oh no, it's Voice of Victory. You've got it. I don't need to cast spells during your turn, believe it or not. Now I don't have this next land drop to get to these, which means that my turn overall is pretty unimpressive. I think I will be taking out Guide of Souls here. I think I'll pass the turn then. My opponent's Wasteland kept me off of resources very, very well here. Fuck. Yeah. Double fuck. Okay. This is not trending well. The Voice of Victory goes in. The Guide of Souls trigger needs to be placed on the bottom, so the Voice of Victory trigger resolves first. And then at that point, my opponent can go up to 3 energy to give this flying, which they do. So I can take out the tokens. That's something, but I'm going to get Wastelanded off of Savannah and then just have a bad time. Wasteland apparently very good against my deck. That's not great, but it is a mana source. So we'll Dryad Arbor. Tifa's trigger can go on bottom. Scythecat Cub will put a counter on Tifa. I will then double Tifa's power. I can get a little aggressive here. But I need my next land drop desperately. Preferably, it's a fetch land. It's just so much power. There's the fetch land to shuffle. I don't feel good about my position. Oh, please don't be Goblin Bombardment. Okay, Prismatic Ending is bad, but it's not as bad as Goblin Bombardment, just being a way to really abuse Voice of Victory tokens. So I'm going to get hit for 6 here, and potentially be dead next turn. Opponent only has 2 energy, so they don't get to put +1/+1 counters on things. Then they lose their warriors. Now this land drop is a lot less impressive now, It's also not white for Path to Exile, which is rough. I think I am going to set up to do the broken thing next turn, which involves preemptively playing Nadu. And this is an excellent Force of Will or Daze situation. I'm gonna send in. I'm not dead to board, but I'm real close to dead to board. Maybe we somehow double Tifa's power multiple times and put together a win. It feels like I'm just short of that, though, and the Guide of Souls life gain puts that further away. I don't really know what gets me out of this spot. I'm not a Brainstorm deck. I think I can beat one Wasteland this game. The second one was too much. Now my opponent is going to be at 13, and they have a blocker for even if I theoretically draw a land drop for Tifa. That is not going to do it. Can't Path to Exile anything. GG's, opponent. You have slain the Chocobo deck. All right. Opening hand is fine. I think I'm going to throw Delighted Halfling out there immediately. I think there's a better chance that a Delighted Halfling eats a removal spell than a Hierarch eats one. And I would kind of like Scythecat Cub to stay alive if possible. Daze is awkward here. I think I'm going to... Nope. I think I'm going to maximize my Scythecat Cub. And I think Surveil Land is better than playing Hierarch here. Doubling the counters and putting one additional +1/+1 counter are the same here. So I'm just going to pass the turn and leave the flexibility of fishing for Swords to Plowshares, specifically if my opponent goes Entomb into Reanimate. We've got the fetch. Got the untapped land. Yep. I'm recording it tonight, but it will be out for you all a day or two before this video releases to the general public. If you want to hear my thoughts about bans in Legacy, as well as those of Bryant and Brian, they will be available in our most recent episode of the Eternal Glory podcast, which will probably release Friday the 13th. We have a Thoughtseize prior to anything else here. My hand is now not duds because fetch lands are real, but if my opponent just reanimates here, I am running on fumes. Yeah? So, I'm going to fetch to inform this decision. I am probably just keeping Scythecat Cub, but we can see if something changes my mind here. Chocobo? I would just be making a singular land drop to play the Chocobo. If I still had this, if I still had both of these around, I can maybe just power through and kill my opponent. I go down the Delighted Halfling. I will discard a regular old land. My opponent goes up to 12. The illusion of choice, it is another Traveling Chocobo. So, land drop, trigger, 3 counters. Fetch, Tropical Island, trigger, double. This is an 8/8. My opponent doesn't have to block it though, unfortunately. And now we just need my opponent not to have a removal spell or counter spell for this. I had the potential to fetch Dryad Arbor here to play around a counter spell. Yep. I guess I should have done it. Now I lose Scythecat Cub and this Tropical Island. Instead of just losing a Dryad Arbor and having a chance to crack back. Is Murktide 2? Okay, then I was probably not beating that duo regardless. Okay. 4x Endurance in, and then some number of these cards as well. I'm going to go Safekeeper out. I don't have Bog. I probably go Reclaimer out then. Night of the Reliquary is replaceable here. Traveling Chocobo is fine in conjunction with my other stuff. I don't know that it's necessary. This can be used to make opponents sacrifice creatures with flying, which is generically good against most non-Goyf threats. I think I am interested in doing all of this stuff when I am on the play, and just going down some copies of Tifa, and just assuming that I settle in for a longer game. So if my opponent is doing fair stuff, my hand is very good. I have a turn 2 uncounterable Nadu, and I can follow up with Scythecat Cub stuff. And if they're doing unfair stuff, I lose. And that's just going to be how this is. I don't think you get to mulligan directly to Graveyard Hate. in this matchup. It was a weird draw step stop. I wonder if my opponent is playing Metamorphosis Fanatic. Alright, we got the fetch. It is Thoughtseize instead. This is not a Daze land. I have lost the uncounterable Nadu. So Force of Will is now back online. I could just Green Sun for one? I could just Green Sun for one. Let's go for it. Has to be Force of Will, can't be Daze. I have a Nadu in play. Next turn I have Scythecat Cub plus land drop. And we've seen how that goes in the past. Again, though, my opponent can just go Entomb, Reanimate, and that overpowers what my deck is capable of doing. So we will drop a Cub. We'll see if my opponent wants to remove my Nadu in response. It'll give me a card if they do. That is a Bitter Triumph, discarding an Entomb. Hit a land drop. This is fine. I have not played my land for turn, so I'm going to go ahead and fetch, grab a Savannah. That is the first trigger on this Cub. I am now going to take 2, play a land drop. The trigger from the left Cub needs to go on bottom, and then the trigger from the right Cub can happen. So I put the +1/+1 counter on it. This will double the number of counters here. Then I can fetch. I'm just going to surveil land, I think. So this is from the right one. This is going to double. So this goes on bottom here, and then this goes on top here. So I have a gargantuan creature that kills my opponent. This is a mid draw. Like, it is fine to put counters on this. I think I can just do better. Like, a fetch land is better. I think a spell like Nadu is better. Hitting something like Endurance is way better. Again, though, Entomb, Reanimate still overpowers this very, very handily. The Atraxa, that is a Death Toucher, I think just wins out. Not Entomb plus Reanimate immediately. Now it has to be land drop, Entomb, Reanimate in 4 cards. Alright, that is passing the turn. That is an Endurance. That is great. I'm just going to send in with everything here. This will take Reanimate off the table. Fatal Push is fine. It is kind of frustrating that I need to simultaneously respect Murktide Regent as well as Entomb plus Reanimate. So if I want to beat Murktide Regent, I play Endurance here. And if I want to beat Reanimate, I hold. I think I am going to hold. But it sure will be frustrating if Murktide Regent happens. Opponent doesn't have blue for Murktide yet. That's fine. And again, there is like fair versus unfair stuff going on here. I think I just cast this. I think I am just trying to two-turn my opponent. But again, Entomb plus Reanimate, pretty rough. Land drop. Trigger on, I think, Scythecat Cub. And I will fetch my other Surveil land. And we'll double the number of counters. Green Sun doesn't do anything against a reanimated card. It is certainly an above average draw. I'm going to keep it on top. Again, though, it is very frustrating to play around the fair and unfair aspects of this simultaneously. Decks are just not particularly successful at doing so. My opponent takes 5 here, loses Tamiyo. And for like the 3rd turn in a row, we're just seeing if my opponent puts together Entomb plus Reanimate, or Entomb plus Animate Dead in this case. That's a Sewers. My opponent doesn't Animate Dead this turn. I have Lethal on board and another Endurance on top of my deck. Hey, that's not bad. We're going to force our opponent to use their mana or die. Feels like it's something like Bowmasters. Nope, it was just nothing. I enjoyed the part where my opponent did not do anything this game, because I was very nearly dead to them not doing anything if they just had an Animate Dead effect, which says something about how powerful that strategy is. The chokes on the draw are definitely worse. I still think I want them, because there's some games where my opponent interacts with me early and then spends a few turns activating Tamiyo clues and cantripping to set up a combo finish. This hand can play a turn 2 Nadu, but is not overly impressive. I think I'm gonna mulligan this. Like an endurance hand would be safer. An endurance hand that can fucking play any spell. Okay. The 5-card hand doesn't have enough mana, but hopefully we can make it work. I think I need to keep both mana dorks in case one dies. And then I'm not sure what to do with the last card. I think I'm just going to get rid of the expensive Nadu. I don't know. Maybe I give up on the Choke Dream and just keep Scythecat Cub plus Nadu. Let's keep Cub plus Nadu. I don't know. The Choke on turn 2 is just the best thing that I'm capable of doing if I hit a land drop. Yeah. If my opponent leads on Underground Sea, the Choke on turn 2 is just the best thing that I'm capable of doing with that hand in terms of stealing this game. We've got a fetch land from the opponent and a ThrabenU immediately. Okay, there is my land for turn 2. I don't think I want to be wastelanded here. I'm going to just get a basic, and I'm going to play the one that lives through Bowmasters. And again, respecting this deck's combo finish while also respecting ThrabenU, Goyf, Murktide Regent, Bowmasters, Fatal Push, all that stuff is quite difficult. More so when I am down some cards from a double mulligan. This will be card draw number 2. And thankfully, ThrabenU is not flipping. And we did not get a fatty in the graveyard there, which I also appreciate. The way that I steal the game on the spot is resolving Choke, but that makes my Scythecat Cubs very bad. I think it is correct to play... Fuck, they didn't have a counterspell. To play Cub this turn, and then support with Choke next turn. So counter, fetch, Savannah, double counters, Hierarch. Now I have an attack on ThrabenU, if nothing else goes down. Again, though, Entomb Reanimate is being threatened every turn of this game, which is frustrating. Yeah. There's Atraxa, and there's Reanimate. So I lose the game for not attempting the Choke in an attempt to play around counterspells, and now Force of Will is there to take out the Choke. Enjoyable magic. So now I need to use Choke as bait to resolve something like a Swords to Plowshares, or otherwise make Scythecat Cub big enough that Atraxa is forced to block. Doesn't feel great. I mean, I can play double Noble Hierarch and get in there with Scythecat Cub for a viable attack. I think slamming Choke does more, so I'm going to start there. Getting that Force of Will out of hand matters a lot. Alright, I succeed in getting the Force of Will. I will play Noble Hierarch to ease my mana. I don't care if this gets dazed. And pass. Okay. Yep. So that's Archon in graveyard now. Yep, no, that's fun. Halfling goes down, Hierarch goes down. My opponent gets most of their life back, and another card from ThrabenU. So I need a white removal spell to answer Atraxa. Yep. And that's a flipped Planeswalker as well. Cool. That is Endurance, which doesn't do anything now that these are on board, and I am dead in the air. GG's. Top deck of the format. Okay. My opening hand is fine, as long as I draw another land in 2 draw steps, which I think is reasonable. I think the keep point of this hand is 2 lands. We've got a Chrome Mox start. That's Smallpox? Oh shit. Here we go. Sinkhole. Alright. That's great. I think I play that one now because that one is less likely to eat a Wasteland or whatever. My deck is, I forget the exact ratio. I think it was roughly still 50% mana after the changes that I made. We are going to fetch. I think the Surveil land is important. Opposition Agent is a card that exists. Let the record show. Edge Maze here. I do have Nadu in hand. I don't need that. That can absolutely hit graveyard here. Nice. I think we are playing Tifa immediately. And then next turn I play Scythecat Cub. And Tifa uses a limit break, basically. Third land drop. It is a Smallpox, which obviously is not great for me. I'm unsure what to discard. Because, like, this getting me lands off the top of my deck is kind of a big deal. But I'm also pretty far away from it. And I potentially would want to just Nadu first anyway. Oh, shit. Alright, opponent. Opponent says, sorry, this 2010 brew will probably not win much, but it's great. I'll get rid of a land. So I will... oh, sorry. Make a land drop. Deploy a cub. And I would like to find more lands off the top still, so that I can do crimes with Nadu. That's not exactly a land off the top. I think this is just 0 for Dryad Arbor, rather than a 1-drop. Because this gives me the immediate counter. Would I accept trading this for Bowmaster? Yes, because then it means that Dryad Arbor isn't dying. 16. Okay, there goes Trop. Nadu is not castable. So that means that this turn we go for a Mana Dork, I think. I think that's better than Reclaimer here. This gives me an Exalted trigger, I bash in for 4. And then hopefully the dam breaks when I play Nadu here. Green, blue, 1. Trop, Scythecat Cub, trigger on Scythecat Cub. Hitting a Chocobo. And now I don't have anything else cool to do here, unless my opponent targets my stuff. I'll send in with Exalted for 5. Opponent is just facing down lethal here. They just didn't maybe have enough mana to deploy whatever their top end is. I don't know if it's going to be Lilianas or One Rings or Karns or what. So there's Flagstones. Okay, all right. Obvious synergy with Smallpox type cards. That is a Vindicate on the Cub, which unfortunately did not hit a land. So I don't have lethal anymore, but I do have a new Scythecat Cub and a land. So bam and bam. Drop the land, trigger on Nadu, draw a green sun. Let's attempt to hit a land as the top card now. Negative. So I will hit in for 5 while being pretty darn resilient to removal. I've got 5 bodies on board here, and I have enough mana that a Ghostly Prison effect doesn't keep me from attacking in. I am not sure if I'm going to sideboard at all. I think I am not going to sideboard. Depending on how many threats I see, slash if I start seeing Crucibles, or if I start seeing scary artifacts like the One Ring that I might want to make my opponent sacrifice, I can adjust accordingly. Yep, this has a bunch of mana. I think in this matchup, I just keep most hands that can produce mana. The way that I lose is just my opponent fully cutting me off of mana. I am a little scared of Opposition Agent. I think on a long enough timeline, I win most games here. I'm just really threat dense, and I also have good synergy. My Nadu top end is probably better than whatever my opponent's top end is. Opponent on 6 here, so they are down a card to start with. They are fighting the good fight playing this in a Reanimator and Oops metagame. So, hats off to you. I am... Given the second draw there, I think I am okay casting this Green Sun. Smallpox kind of rough, though. What's the order there? I think creature is before land. Dark Ritual. Ruined Rancid Earth. Yes. Alright, well, good thing no Threshold. Dryad Arbor gets to live. I have multiple ETB tapped lands now. I think we're doing an untapped land. And as much as I want to play a threat, I think it is just correct to keep getting mana at every opportunity that I can get mana. Encroach. There is a clear deck building direction. I lose out on Hedge Maze, and opponent misses their land drop. So, I think we're gonna do the Cub, drop Lush Portico. I'm going to put the counter on Dryad Arbor so Dryad Arbor doesn't die to a Bowmaster effect. I am totally fine keeping the land, and I'm just going to send in for 2 with Dryad Arbor. And now I've got power spread out across 3 bodies. I have 4 mana sources in play. Not expecting a full-on Armageddon effect or anything. Alright, opponent has some fast mana. That Kaya? Yeah, that's Kaya, Ghost Assassin. Which unironically saw some real legacy play for a little while shortly after printing. Okay, Ghostly Prison. But that puts my opponent hellbent. So overall, I'm not too worried about that. I think we're gonna play Bill, Landfall, stack up counters on Scythecat Cub here. I have to pay 2 to attack, which I can just do. But I could have done this in a better way where I left white available. And I did not do that. Probably doesn't matter, but good habits. Alright, there's Rancid Earth. I will Landfall. We're gonna stack up on the Cub here. Send in with 2 creatures. Pay 4 for my attackers. Opponent's at 6. They don't die if they remove Scythecat Cub, but they really need like a Bantu's Last Reckoning to get out of this spot. We have gotten the GGs in chat, though. So we are now breaking even in this league. Let's see if we can put a win up in the final round and come out positive with our Chocobo Landfall deck. My hand has entirely too much mana here. This just doesn't do anything. This second one probably works out somehow. I'm going to put back Dryad Arbor. And we'll find out whether we are playing against a D&T variant or some just blue mid-range deck that happens to have Yorion. We will fire off a Noble Hierarch immediately. Whatever, you can Wasteland me if you want. And throw down Hierarch. See what opponent's doing end of turn. Just surveilling. This is a Yorion deck, so we are going to be less concerned about something like Entomb Reanimate and more concerned with just dying to a pile of scary shit as the game goes on. I think this is Green Sun or Nadu. This Force of Will checks the opponent who just showed me that there's a Force of Will in graveyard. This either means that they already have Force of Will or that they just thought they could out mid-range me. We've got the fetch. That the Bant one. That's the Bant one. That is a Mistrise Village and Yorion to hand. I'm going to assume my life total is a little expendable here. I think I'm going to go Scythecat Cub. And I think just push damage immediately. I think I'm going to go land drop, trigger on Hierarch here, fetch, Portico, just try to find a threat. Trigger on Hierarch. I do not want another tropical island, and I'll just send in for 3 damage now. My Hierarch lives through Bowmaster type effects now, and I have a threat against a single target removal spell in either direction. Malevolent Rumble. Oh, we're wildin'. There are 4 card types in graveyard. So are you doing Living End? Like, am I just going to lose both of these creatures here? Alright, there's the Cascade. Yeah, it is Living End. With a bunch of Overlords and such in the deck. Okay. I mean, that's pretty alright. So there's 14 onboard damage. I can technically survive the attack, but I think my opponent just gets me there. If I take 11, I will be at 12. I'm dead to pretty much everything, and I can't fetch land to go crazy with Nadu. I think I am comfortable conceding there. So we know that's coming. So we're doing this stuff. I'm maybe not interested in Tifa here. Maybe don't need Sylvan Safekeeper. Probably get away with that, and then like trim 1 Chocobo. I could go up 1 path. I don't know that I need to. This is a mediocre opening hand. This is turn 1 Hierarch into turn 2 probably Scythecat Cub. This is probably just worse than a choke hand. This isn't all that bad, but it's not all that good either. I think I can do better on average. Oh, fuck yeah. I think I can keep this pitching one of the lands. Put the trop back in the deck for later. Green Sun is just immediate Dryad Arbor. And then we do the Force of Will test with my opponent. I could mid-range first with Bristly Bill. Bristly Bill into Nadu is some sweet sequencing, but I think I am going to Force of Will check my opponent here. I'm getting a tropical island willingly here, just by the way. Daze. Sure. So that if my opponent passes the counterspell test, I can still Nadu later on. Taiga. There's a Surveil land, one that pairs well with Taiga. There's a bounce spell, works well with beans. Chocobo. I think it's just shove Nadu immediately. All right, in play. The Chocobo is going to be intended to be endurance food, and if it does something better than that, fantastic. And we've got a fetch land. We know opponent has Taiga in hand already, and we've got beans. I did not hit my land drop. I can try to hit my land drop with a Traveling Chocobo, but I think I'm just going to cast an Endurance on my opponent's end step, and then we'll do Nadu Crimes later. If another card goes to graveyard, I might need to cast an Endurance just in respect of, like, Murktide Region and such. Okay, well, I will cast a spell in response to that, obviously. So there's Endurance. I'll clear what is there of my opponent's graveyard, and then presumably my Nadu leaves play here. Yes. Land drop is cool. I hopefully have this covered, although things like Solitude can make it a little weird. I will Surveil land here. The land's not all that bad. I'm going to just take that. I think I attack 2 creatures at Teferi and just make sure that dies before I do anything else. This wastes 3 damage, but Solitude is real. I think I am going Nadu around Daze with no intention of fetching because of the Bristly Bill that is in play, which just has a chance to pop off next turn. That's land drop 4. That's a Goyf. That's real good. But I have a flyer that is going to be massive and generate a very large amount of card advantage. I think this is fine. All right, so 1 and 2 for Bristly Bill. Land drop, target Nadu. There's Noble Hierarch. Now I am going to go ahead and use that land drop to play the Traveling Chocobo. Nadu on top, I don't need that. We're going to fetch, get a Savannah. I now get 2 of these triggers. I'm going to put 1 on Nadu because it triggers Nadu. And I think I am going to spread the love out here. Get Bill, get a Knight as well. I can play lands from the top. I'm going to throw down a Hierarch. I don't care if this Endurance dies. I am fine just making this attack. Ooh, opponent is willing to trade. I guess they are a deck that can reanimate stuff. So I guess that's fair. I imagine we'll see some Surveil land here. Oh, nope. Just gotta fix the mana. So that's still 3 types. That's creature, land, planeswalker. I don't need to potentially even Endurance yet. As soon as a Ponder or equivalent goes on the stack, though, things start getting a little dicier. All right, we just win this one. I think I'm going to play 1 more of these now that I know there's Goyfs in there. Do I want to go down 1 Mana Dork or 1 Traveling Chocobo? I think 1 Traveling Chocobo. I still want access to that effect because it goes hard. I am perfectly happy with this. This is turn 2 uncounterable Nadu. Bant land. I would rather just draw extra land drops right now. I played the wrong Mana Dork. I just spaced out. Oh my god, that's so bad. Please kill my Mana Dork to make that look like a genius 300 IQ play. Oh, I'm so upset with myself. That's a removal spell that's not on for Delighted Halfling, by the way. Just throwing it out there. Alright, we move on. So now I will drop Delighted Halfling. And I am just behind where I should be in this game by a turn cycle. Okay, opponent has the removal spell for it anyway. The Illusion of Choice. I mean, I guess I could have drawn the Binding this turn and not had it, but you know. 18. I think this is a green-white Surveil land first because of Choke. Let's Portico. I'm going to say no. I think it's higher upside just hitting a land directly because of Scythecat Cub and multiple Endurances. Didn't happen, but I think it's correct to fish for the land there. Once I have that next land drop, like, oh buddy, we are in business. An Ent into the land drop and passing the turn. That's not great. I have 6/3 drops on 2 lands. I think I wait. There's an Overlord. There's not a priority window here for me to eat that. So now we know that's coming. Choke hits 2 lands as of right now. That one hits a Marauder. Jace Reawakened as well. Just another way to do the living end stuff. And they do take the Planeswalker. Okay. And these start ticking down. That's frustrating. Okay. Yes. I'm going to just concede if I don't have the next land drop. Yeah, I don't think that's good enough. Okay, I think I just bottomed out here. I think my opponent's Overlords are going to beat me as this game goes long. I'm not scaling this up. I'm not getting this in play. And I'm going to lose to this as well, even if I Endurance. I'd try to do something weird like double Endurance to take that off the board, but then like this stuff buries me later on. So we only put 2 wins on the board today, but every single loss was a 1-2. This was a respectable first draft. All right, so let's wrap this one up. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Good for a first draft. I think the land count needs to be a touch higher even with the mana dorks. I never got Elvish Reclaimer or Knight of the Reliquary going. Doesn't mean they shouldn't be in the deck. But when my deck is doing its thing, we're pretty darn fast. I do wonder to what extent our wins were because of Nadu existing rather than like Tifa Chocobo and whatnot actually meaningfully contributing to the shell. Like Tifa might legitimately just be better off as 2 more Bristly Bills, a land drop, and some other Green Sun bullet. She goes hard, and she does trample, and like a fetch land makes her have 4 power, and that's fine. But there are times where she just kind of awkwardly sits there as a 1-2, and I don't love that. Traveling Chocobo as additional land drops is fine. Sorry, as additional way to find lands rather than additional land drops. I don't know all of the Chocobos well enough to know whether or not we can get any additional bird-based value here. That's too new for me to have internalized everything. The landfall abilities triggering twice does go hard, and this card might be real in some format. I don't know that that format is Legacy, but the Scythecat Cubs, Bristly Bills, and equivalents can kind of go nuts with Traveling Chocobo. So this is a card that I think I'm going to have my eye on for other formats. And I would be willing to try this again in Legacy with a slightly different list. I'm unsure how I feel about Ancient Tomb in the deck. It is a way to power out your Green Suns and Traveling Chocobos earlier. Just kind of feeling the sequencing of the deck. Ancient Tomb sometimes doesn't allow you to multi-spell with green and white spells. The Ancient Tomb's probably better if some artifact mana remains in the deck. And that could be another direction to like take this back, where you like maybe drop the mana dorks and you play the fast artifact mana, just hoping to Tifa on 1, Chocobo on 2 with like Ancient Tombs. But I don't know that the mana supports the Nadu and the Ancient Tombs at the same time. I like what's going on here. I don't know that the jokes are actually good enough here. That should maybe be something else that is good against the blue decks. And that might just be additional white removal and graveyard hate. So overall, I'm going to give this a thumbs up. I don't think the deck is perfect, but I do think the deck is very fun, and that is worth something. If you need any cards for the deck, you know where to go. Promo code ThrabenU saves you a bit on your order, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day playing with your Chocobos. See ya!